So hi, welcome to mini module, mini exam review module 6. Today we will be covering STIs and contraception. And this material it's not hard, it's just a lot. So you'll want to review a lot for this and like make little what do you call those, like the little flashcards and stuff like that. That'll help. So yeah, you guys already know how the module, like how the exams are set up, or you're supposed to know at this time of the semester. So same as every other exam, you got like, I always forget, it's 2 days, right? And it's multiple choice, set up like every other exam. So this is what you need to know for like basics of what you need to know. You need to know contraceptives, and in the theme of contraceptives, you need to know the 5 flavors, or I like to call them the 5 levels of contraceptives, and you also need to know how each of them work in within those 5 levels. And then within STIs, you need to know the cultural views of STI and how we have historically handled STIs. You also need to know the 3 flavors of STIs, and within those 3 flavors, you need to know information about each one of the STIs. And within each one of those STIs, you need to know at least these 3 key points, which is how you catch them, how are they expressed in the body, or how the body reacts to them, and how to treat them if they're treatable. So that is your basic key knowledge you need to know for this. Any questions, comments?
No.
Awesome. So next up, we have contraceptives. And I said I like to call them the 5 levels of contraceptives. Can somebody tell me or name some of those flavors? Oh, Nay is here. Cool. So can somebody tell me the 5 levels of contraceptives? Or at least some. This was covered in lecture. You guys should know this.
I believe hormonal is one of them.
You are right. You're correct. Any other ones?
Barrier method.
Barrier method. Awesome. You're on the right track, man. What else? You got 3 left. What about one that's been in place for almost as long as we've been human, which we take temperature and we check the mucus of the cervix. What's that called? Nate, I'm gonna pick on you. Nathan, what you know what that's called?
Is that the fertility awareness method?
Got it. Yes. Awesome. Okay. And then got 2 left. And then we said hormonal, barrier, fertility awareness, one that involves knives and cutting into you, which is called, starts with an S. You go into surgical, and then lastly, hormonal, barrier, fertility, surgical. I can't believe I forgot it. And lastly, hormonal, barrier. Oh, and lastly, the one you don't do anything. What's that called? Christians are advocate for this. Christianity loves this.
Abstinence.
Abstinence. Yes, we got the 5. Okay, so abstinence, that's the first level, right? And it's pretty self-explanatory. Abstinence is when you don't have any sexual encounters or behaviors with another partner. Withdrawal is when you do have sex, but you withdraw the penis from the vagina before it orgasms. And then outer course is non-penetrative sex. So pretty self-explanatory. I call it the first level because, you know, it's like we first do that and then move up. Then we got fertility awareness. And this one is pretty cool because if done right, it's highly effective. And that includes the rhythm method, which is counting your days since your last period, and counting down the days until your next period. And then that's when you can figure out when you're ovulating. You also check your temperature because when you're ovulating, your temperature rises a little bit. Your mucus in the vagina, in the cervix, actually gets more fluid when you're ovulating, which makes it easier for sperm to swim up. And you also have to check the position and softness of the cervix because the cervix kind of moves within the female, and depending where that is placed, then you can also tell if she is or isn't ovulating. These three, the combination of these, if done right, which you have to at least do this for at least 2 months to kind of figure out how your body works and then effectively use it to either get pregnant or not get pregnant. But this has been used since like forever, right? This is like the easiest way of birth control and family planning as well. Third flavor, we got barrier method. So there's a few of them. I'm gonna start popping up pictures. So first we got female and male condoms, which will look like these. The one on the left is the male condom, which most of you have probably seen. And the right is the female condom, which not a lot of people have seen, but it looks like that. Then we got sponges. This is also this is kind of a more outdated version. Sponges look like this, probably your grandmas and stuff, and people older have used this, but it's not really in use anymore. But it looks like that. It goes into the vagina like that. Then you got spermicide. Wait, got a question. Wait. Why are female condoms so rare? Well, it's kind of rare because it's easier to not put in well. As you can tell, it's like a really large kind of bag situation, so it's easier to kind of mess up when you're putting it compared to male condoms. And apparently they're also very much more uncomfortable than male condoms. And yeah, they're also not as distributed as male condoms, again, because male condoms are way easier to use, and it's the risk of not using it well is way less compared to female condoms. So that's kind of the summary of it. And then moving on, we have spermicide. Spermicide recently hasn't been there's a lot of ways you can use spermicide. So you can use it as a jelly by putting it in the vagina. I know there were spermicide condoms, inserts, like I said. Sometimes they put spermicide in like around the sponge, gels, foam, contraceptive pills. There's a lot of ways you can use spermicide. But recently, spermicide has also we've come to know that there are some side effects to using spermicide, so that's getting used less. We got the diaphragm that looks something like this. That's how you put it in there. Kind of similar to the sponge, but this one is rubber. Yeah, it just caps the cervix so it doesn't let the they call this the ova leave. And then finally, you got the cervical cap, also very similar to that diaphragm. It's just what? Hello? Did somebody want to talk?
No, sorry, I just entered.
Okay, you're good. So the cervical cap also really similar to that diaphragm. It kind of has a little band so you can pull it out. So yeah, those are the barrier methods. Any questions? Comments? Okay, I'm gonna move on. So even more contraceptives. So fourth level, it's hormonal. Most of these work the same way. So you gotta figure out how, for me, the easiest way is to figure out how the pill works. And then basically you can just like project that into the rest of the contraceptives for hormonal, because they're all hormonal and they all inject hormones into the body, and mostly the female body, because we've been talking about male contraceptive and hormonal contraceptives, basically developing the pill for men, but still haven't gotten there. So one of them is implants, which I call the arm rod, because it literally looks like a little rod they put in your arm. Again, this injects hormones into the body, works exactly like the pill, and I think you guys have an assignment about that, so you guys should be good about this. And you got IUDs, which look a little bit like this. This goes into the uterus, and you have to get it done. Both of these you have to go get done at like a doctor's office. You can't do that on your own, obviously. And I think it helps you see them. That's why I added the pictures in there, because then you can like picture it better when you're thinking of them. Then you got the pill. This is the most basic one. We could just call it the pill, but it's just hormones in pill form, same thing. Then you got patches, which look a little bit like this. Patches, I don't think you have to put them at a specific point in your body, but mostly I've seen they put them in the shoulder or where the arm rod would go. So yeah, those are birth control patches. Then you got injections, which is pretty self-explanatory. It's just hormonal injections. I think you get these every few months, maybe 3-6 months, something like that. And then finally you got the vaginal ring, and it's literally a ring, and it goes right in there underneath the cervix. So yeah, those are hormonal contraceptives. Any other questions? No. Okay, so just remember with this one, you want to know exactly how the pill works, which you guys shouldn't have a problem with. And knowing exactly how the pill works, then you can just know how every other hormonal contraceptive works. Pretty easy. But you got even more contraceptives. So then you got the fifth and final level, which is surgical. This is the most extreme kind of contraceptive because it's not always irreversible. You got tubal ligation, which looks something like this. And within that, there's 3 different types of ways to do that. You can either band it, you can either cauterize the cut over the cut fallopian tube, or you can tie and cut it. Of course, some of these, like for example, the banded and the tied and cut, can still like allow ova to leave the ovaries because the tubes are still kind of together. The tied and cut, a lot of people get tied and cut, and then somehow the ovary still finds a way to escape. So cauterizing it's definitely the best way, but it also means it's the less irreversible option. So you got to play with that. Then you got hysterectomies, which also has 3 flavors. Hysterectomy is the removal of the uterus. So you can either do a partial one, you can do a total one, or complete removal of basically the whole female reproductive system. And yeah, that's hysterectomies.
So is the cauterized and the tied and cut, is that kind of like the female version of a vasectomy?
Kinda, yeah. So we're going into that now. For the vasectomy, there's also 2 different ways you can do it. You can tie and cut it by the vas deferens, in the vas deferens, but you can also do it closer to the to the testes, sorry, and also tied and cut it. And I think you can also cauterize it, but maybe for vasectomies they don't really cauterize it because they always try to make it reversible. So yeah, basically same thing. Tubal ligation and vasectomy is kind of the same thing, just one is for females and one is for males. So yeah, you're right on the money with that. Any questions? I'm gonna take 1 minute and take participant, like the attendance, because you guys get extra credit for this. And I really do want you guys to get that extra credit. So blame. Awesome. So those are the the 5 levels of contraceptives. That was a very short version of it, of course, because this is only a review, but I'm pretty sure this is all in your book, as well as Anne has probably covered it in her lectures. So that's kind of a brief summary of that, and you guys have to learn everything else. Sorry about that. So now that we covered contraceptives, we're going to STIs, which, by the way, STIs are the same exact thing as STDs, except we kind of changed the names because it's better to use infection than disease, right? It's just a wording thing. First, we're going to talk about the historical perspectives of STIs, how we've historically treated that, worked with that. There has been STI pandemics, which we will talk about that also. Some risk factors. This is not as important. I just pulled this out from Professor Laffey's like PowerPoint module thing, but risk factors is not the most important thing for your mini exam, but keep it kind of in mind. And then we're going to talk about the 3 flavors of STI, which is viral STIs, then you got bacterial STIs, and finally parasitic STIs. So a historical perspective. So in different countries, we've handled STIs in different ways. Before, now, obviously, we know not in the most ethical way, basically not in an ethical way. Let me take that back. Not an ethical way at all to handle STIs. But this is what has happened. The U.S. public health system between 1932 and 1972 denied treatment to African American men to study the long-term effects of the illness. Around 400 African American men were denied treatment. Again, super unethical. And then there was a Guatemala syphilis study, and in Guatemala, they exposed about 1,000 people to syphilis and gonorrhea without their consent. Super unethical. I don't have to say that again. And over 80 people died, and many others suffered the effects of not completing treatment. So as you can see, minorities are the ones that are being like tested this on. Super unethical, super horrible, really. But now we can learn from our past experiences, of course. There has been STI pandemics. Of course, we all know the HIV in the 80s. That took a lot of lives, and not a lot of people did anything about it, rather. And a lot of people just died from HIV and AIDS. So why does this happen? So anything sex related in the US is very taboo, right? We know this. People do not talk about sex or sexuality, and that also goes for STIs because they are related to sex. So us being incapable of talking about taboo subjects like sex also puts us in a large risk to get these diseases and can kill a lot of people as well. So think about how culture influences how we treat STIs. So if we don't get the conversation rolling, how are we going to effectively be able to treat people that suffer from STIs? Yeah. STI reporting in the CDC, this goes back to what I was saying about culture. All states must report syphilis, gonorrhea, chancroid, chlamydia, HIV, and AIDS cases, but many states require that, genital warts and herpes be reported. But again, we are not 100% sure if all these reportings are accurate of what actually are the amounts of STI infections in the US, because people are afraid of admitting they have an STI. They might not even know they have an STI because they're not even educated to know what an STI looks like. So they don't go to a doctor, they keep spreading it because they don't know they have it, and they don't report it either. So the social stigma highly affects how we handle STIs in the US. This is what I was saying. STIs are viewed as a sign of corrupt sexuality, right? So there's this punishment concept that if you get a STI, it's like, oh, you got what you deserve, right? Don't go out and have sex, because then you'll get an STI and that's your punishment for having sex. Again, super taboo. The stigma of STI interfere with getting tested, like I was saying. College students believe they're immune to STIs. So a lot of students engage in high-risk sexual behaviors and don't get tested regularly, and that causes more spread. About 1/2 of all contracted STIs are in the ages of 15 to 24-year-olds. Again, people in college, people are becoming sexually active. They don't know that, most of them don't even know what even is an STI because they're not educated that in their household or even in school. And also a younger cervix, aka a younger female, is more vulnerable to getting STIs. STIs in the US. So you have an idea how the US handles STI. We are the first country, within the industrialized countries, within developed countries, we are leading in cases in STIs. At 19 million new cases each year. 65 million Americans have an incurable STI, which exists. About half of all people will have an STI at some point. Ages 15 to 24 is at greatest risk. Like I said, 1.4 million have AIDS and HIV, and women are greater at risk for STIs. Now that I dumped all that information on you, any questions or comments? I'm gonna take that as a no. So now that we know a little bit, oh, we got a comment. Nice. No, okay. Thank you, Angelica. So now that we got STIs, let's talk a little bit about viral infections of STIs. I think we all know a lot about how a virus works nowadays, considering what we are living. But as a refresher, viruses, once they enter the body, it can reproduce and the person will have it for the rest of their life. Although they may not experience symptoms, like most people don't experience COVID symptoms, while the virus lies dormant, they are still infected. Viruses cause ephemeral infectious diseases such as the common cold, the flu, COVID. Most viral infections, treatments can only help with the symptoms, but it will not get rid of the virus completely. Your immune system is the one that has to fight it off. Antibiotics do not work with viral infections. They are antiviral medicines to treat although they are antiviral medicines to treat viral infections, but it's not like bacterial infections. Any questions, comments? Good, I'm gonna keep going. So viral infections include, this is a summary of which ones you need to know. Again, I'm not gonna go over exactly which one of them. I'm just gonna tell you, hey, you need to know these ones. So herpes simplex virus, HSV. There's 2 levels to that. The first level, it affects the mouth and face area, and then the second level spreads through the genitals. Then you got HPV, which is human papillomavirus. Again, females are the most susceptible to this. Then you got different types of viral hepatitis, which you need to know, and HIV and AIDS, which AIDS, it's caused by HIV, and yeah, that's basically it. She goes over all of this. This is in highly detail in the PowerPoint she posted in Module 6. So you can go over all of that, as well as she has a module, a narrated lecture, there you go, posted up in the module. So then you can get all of the juicy information you will need about these. Any questions, comments? Nope, I'm gonna keep going. Then you got bacterial STIs, and those include bacterial vaginosis, chancroid, which I hope I'm saying correctly, chlamydia, gonorrhea, and syphilis. And you gotta know how you catch them, how they express in the body at different state. They also have different stages and treatment if there is one. And finally, you got parasitic STIs. This is a picture of a penis worm. This is an Asian phallic parasite, but that picture looks cool. So there you go. And then parasitic STIs, you got vaginal infections, you got pubic lice and scabies, which is another type of like little critter. So yeah, that's basically it. That's all you need to know. Remember this, like this little meeting will be recorded and posted on the module. So if you want to go over anything I said, you can do that. I also wanted to mention that I noticed in the module, there's a lecture about pregnancy. Pregnancy is not going to be in your module, so do not pay attention to that. Just pay attention to contraceptives and STIs. And that's kind of it. So if you guys have any questions, you're free to go now.
Thank you for giving the review. I'm going to stick for a few minutes and chat with you about club. So
cool. So if anybody has any other questions about the mini module, now it's your time. And if you don't, then you're free to leave.
I do have a quick question. It's not really about the module, but it's because I know in the what's it called, the syllabus, it's mentions like all the mini exams, but will we have a final exam covering like everything we've learned?
I do not know that. I think Professor Laffy is thinking about the final. You can go ahead and email her, but I do not have an answer for that. I wish I did, but I do not have an answer for that.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thanks for the review.
If you have any other questions about the class in general, you can like ask or assignments, specific assignments, you can ask me.
All right. Okay. Thank you for the review.
Awesome. Bye, Angelica.
Bye.
Blaine, do you have any questions?
No, sorry, I'm driving, so I was just kind of listening to everything.
Okay, good. Don't get distracted. The review is over now, so if you want, you can click out, or if you're driving, I can just kick you out because I'm gonna talk about club stuff with my Senate rep.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and click out. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Blaine. Have a great day.
Yes, ma'am, you too.
So that is the end of mini exam review for Module 6.
yay.